And we are back at the OPP, the Organic Perspective Podcast. First and foremost, I would like to thank Yahuwah, the Most High, for this opportunity. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for Him. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Remember this, all power, honor, and glory belongs to Him, and He does as He pleases with it. With that being said, my people was good. Mi gente, que lo que hay. Really quickly in Spanish. Vamos a hacer un episodio en español, empezando pronto, para comunicarnos con la gente que habla en español también. La gente de Puerto Rico, mi gente de Puerto Rico, mi gente de Guatemala, de México, de Centroamérica, de Sudamérica. Mira, para comunicarnos, para que podamos hablar de estas prácticas que tenemos. So, pronto vamos a hacer unos cuantos en español para poder comunicar con ustedes. Que Dios me lo bendiga. With that being said, before I start today's episode, just a quick reminder. We did it. The book came out, Treacherous. The release date will be next Tuesday. It'll be September 30th. Pre-order your copy right now. You know, if go to Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, you know, and just if you need to look it up, just look up Treacherous by Eddie Okendo. It should pop up. Order your copy. You know what I'm talking about? Let's get it out there. So that'll be the last time I'll talk about that. But my people was good. We here again. Hey, I just want to tell you guys one thing. You know, this Dokina perspective is just bringing a different perspective on the word. You know, as you probably noticed, we've kind of talked about things that the church doesn't really talk about. You know, they kind of stay away from some topics. Well, here what we do, we try to enlighten you guys on some topics that the Father has enlightened me on. And He would like me to you know, He's giving me a mission. He's giving me an assignment to come here and to speak to you guys. You know, and let you guys know how He's teaching me and what He's teaching me. But like I always say, hey. If you hear anything anywhere, if it's here or at your church or at your services or whatever, anything, if you hear some from like a pastor, a leader, a prophet, whatever it is, always go back and study yourselves. Approved. Don't take anybody for their own word, because there's a lot of deception going on in today's society. And in fact, that's going to be the topic of today's episode, is the deception that's going on in the last days. And then towards the end, we'll talk a little more. We'll go step by step, you know. So what we're going to start off with today is, what did Yahusha say that the end of the days would look like? Okay, so then I'm gonna read Matthew 24:4. So, you know, everybody always remembers the second, third, fourth part of what Yahusha said to look out for, but they always kind of skip the first thing that He said to watch out for. And in fact, I have three different accounts, one in Matthew, one in Mark, one in Luke. So there's three different accounts of them saying the exact same thing that Yahusha told his disciples to watch out for in the last days. And that's what we're going to begin with, okay? So it's three different accounts, three different people saying the same thing, okay? Okay. So like I told you guys last week, whenever I read, I take off my glasses because everything is blurry if I don't do that. I only need them to see far, not to see close. All right. And here we go. Okay. End of days, what should we be looking for? Okay, so this is what Yahushua said to his disciples in private on top of the Mount of Olives. They came out and asked him, hey, what should we be looking for? And this is what he says. And Jesus answered them, see that no one leads you astray. Basically, see that no one deceives you. Okay? For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. So that was on Matthew 24, verse 4. Now, if you go to Mark 13, verse 4, it says the exact same thing. If you go to Luke chapter 21, verse 7, it says the exact same thing. Okay? Why is this the first thing that Yahusha warned his disciples, and obviously they were going to go out and teach their people, their followers this. Why is that? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot over to Revelation. We've talked about this, but like I said, we're gonna take it step by step. We're gonna go shoot over to Revelation, chapter 12, verse 9. Okay. So this verse is very important. So we're gonna keep going back to this verse throughout the episode because this is what's going on. Okay. Okay, here we go. Revelations 12:9. And the great dragon was thrown down, the ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He has thrown down. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. So that's very important right there. It says right here. It says, the serpent, Satan, the devil himself came to deceive. Remember this key point: deceive the whole world. Now, if we take the word and take it for what it is, this is that what Yahusha talked about in what they should be looking for. That's Yahusha talking, and then John wrote in Revelation that that the devil's gonna come and deceive the whole world. You see, so put them together. Yahusha says, "Don't be deceived." John said, "The whole world will be deceived." See, key points. Okay. So, okay. So how is this deception? How did it come up? Where did it come from? Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and the Father gave Satan a few titles. Okay, a few titles. So he called Satan the prince of this world. It's one title. He called him the ruler of this world. Another title. And in 2 Corinthians 4:4, Paul writes that Satan is the god of this world. See? So that is how we're going to deceive, because Satan, he's had 2,000 years of head start on us. He's been deceiving. He's been telling a lie for 2,000 years. But if you hear a lie over and over and over again, it kind of becomes true in your head, and you start believing like that's the truth. So that's what's been going on in the world for the last 2,000 years. We've been, and then right now it's like we've been indoctrinated to just take whatever our leaders tell us, and their leaders told them by their word. But that's not what the Father wants. He wants you to go out there and pick up your own cross and follow him, meaning you got to do your own work. Meaning there's something that you're going to do. Yes, he did plenty for us. Yahusha, saying Yahuwah sent down his only begotten son, Yahusha, to come and die on the cross for us. And he did. And we are saved through grace. And that's the only way, through Yahusha, is the only way that we're going to make it back to Yahuwah. Okay, I'm using his Hebrew name, the Paleo Hebrew name. But you guys, Yahusha, you guys know him as Jesus. And Yahuwah is the Lord God, the Father. That's Yahuwah, just in case you guys didn't know exactly, because I'm using Hebrew terms just to, put these words together, okay? So here we go. So now, I told you guys the titles that Yahusha gave Satan and what Paul said about Satan, but this is what's really going on. So our Father in heaven, Yahuwah, he is the God of everything. Everything. But of this world, this realm that we live in, Satan is the God of. And don't get me wrong, Yahuwah is still above Satan, so he's allowing Satan to try to do his work. But you got to remember, it all falls under Yahuwah's precise and perfect plan. He has a plan, So he has a plan. He's going to do his part, but he wants us to do our part. Okay, so obviously, if Satan's the God of this world, he pretty much controls the world. Meaning he controls what's on TV, he controls what we're learning in school, everything that we're being taught. He controls religion, he controls, the theology that religion is teaching. He's in control of all these things. He's in control of the monetaries. He's in control of everything. He's the God of this world. Okay? In fact, Satan is the God that most people in this world worship right now without knowing it. And this is why you must study yourselves approved, because you do not want to be in that sector of people that got deceived. And we're going to talk about that a little more later, okay? So we must be aware of the tactics and the deception that's coming from the enemy. Now, examples of when Yahusha said that Satan is the ruler of this world, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. You can go back and read them yourself to see that I'm not just saying these things. This is all in the Word. I don't come here and I don't talk philosophy. I don't come here and try to give my interpretation. I come here, I read the Word, and I tell you what he's saying. The interpretation is not, it's the Father, he gives me these interpretations, and I just give them out to you guys. I don't try to veer off and put my own thoughts or my own beliefs or whatever, my own inputs in it. No, I try to steer from that. A lot of that's religion, like I talked about last week. Religion is anything taken away from the Word or added to the Word. That's religion. So I try to stay away from that. And in fact, saying today is it's September 24th. And last week I talked about, this is why I don't set no dates. A lot of people, on YouTube and on Facebook or whatever, they were out there saying that the Most High spoke to them, and that the rapture was gonna happen yesterday or today. Okay, so why we don't do that. Now all those people that said that, what do they got to say for themselves? The Father's not gonna lie. He's not going to tell somebody something and not do it. You got to understand that. He's not going to lie. He's not going to tell somebody something and not do it. But the thing is, you have to be aware and you have to recognize his voice. There's a lot of voices out there. A lot of voices. Enemies, spirits, demonic stories, there's all type of voices because you got to remember the spiritual warfare is in the mind. So you have to, the Father says, my sheep know my voice. So you have to do your due diligence to get to a place where you have a relationship with him, where you're gonna be to understanding his voice. Okay. So in the word it says, at the end of days, when in day of judgment, there's gonna be a lot of people coming up, and he's gonna say, "Hey, hey," they're gonna say, "Hey, Father, but I did this in your name. I did that in your name. I did this in your name. How can you, And the Father's gonna say, "Go away from me. I do not know you." See, so we have to try to avoid that. So build a relationship with him, so you get to know him, and once you get to know him and he knows you, you're that much better off. Now you don't have to worry about. He's not gonna be like, "I don't know you." If he is, if he is communicating with you. But remember, Yahusha decides who to introduce his Father to, and that's you, me, the chosen ones that are given assignments to come speak the truth that the church is not talking about because they're too worried about offending people. The church is sleeping. There needs to be a reawakening. Something has to happen because we're in the last days, and the church should be telling you what's going to happen in the last days. And if they're not, you need to go. When you go to face and see the Father, you're not going to be able to say, "Man, they never taught me these things." No, you got to go on your own and look for it. I know sometimes you're busy and you're not busy, you're too busy, but you know what? If you love him, you're going to have to make some time for him to show him that that you love him and that you want a relationship with them, and that and we know that hey, if you have faith in the Father, hey, and through the grace, he's gonna, he's going to he's already, won the battle for us, and we're gonna make it to the Father through him. But we still gotta do our own work. We still have to do our own work, meaning not by works, but go out there and spread the word, the good word. No religion, spread the good word. Do your, do your due diligence to try to help out the next person. Because if you can save one person, man, how awesome is that? If you were able to say something that the Father put it in you to say, and that helps one person out, man, wow, awesome. Okay, so what is happening right now in with the deception? Okay, so there's a lot of things going on right now in Israel. We talked about it a little bit last week, and we've talked about it in prior podcasts, that a lot of things are happening. Like the red heifer, saying they're sacrificing the red heifer. After they do that, they collect the ashes, and with that they can start building the third temple, and so all this is going down. But where does it say all this? It says it in the Word. You got to remember, the enemies had 2,000 years to get ready for this time. He knows the Word more than we do. He has it memorized. He knows what the Word says. So what is he going to do? He's going to give us everything that the Word says, so we fall for his deception. That's when you have to use your discernment. Do your own work. Study yourself to prove. Because we do not want to be deceived, because he's done a really great job in deceiving. It says the whole world. So a lot of people who think they're okay and that they're saved and they're gonna be good. If that was truth, then it wouldn't say he came to see the whole world. If that was true, he says it. He says the path to destruction is wide, but the path to the Father is narrow, and only few will make it to that path. But to make it to that path, you got to do your work to get onto that path. If not, if you're just gonna be going to church every Sunday and just paying your thigh and listening to what the pastor or leaders are saying, and just and then and not really just taking the word, you're not gonna be able to use all those excuses when you're up, when you're face to face with them. You're gonna have to. It's individual. Salvation is individual. I can't help my mom out. I can't help my kids out. I try to talk to them as much as I can about this stuff, and it's a good thing that they listen, and they're growing. And a lot of friends and my brothers, and some family stuff, But a lot of times, you gotta understand, if whenever you're speaking the truth, the enemy doesn't want the truth to come out, so he's gonna try to funnel you down, try to hold whatever you're saying down. That's how you know. Now, if something explodes, boom, and it becomes larger than life, that probably is not coming from the Father, because they rejected him, they killed him. And he says, if they did that to me, what do you think they're going to do to you? So the enemy, he's the ruler of the airs. So you know what? Airs means, hey, anything that happens, Wi-Fi, it's in the air. Anything that happens on TV, he's running it all. So he's running all the what's the word I'm looking for right now? He's in control. He's in control, and he's not gonna allow things that are gonna affect him to explode. Now, if something explodes, it's because he allowed it to explode. Because it's really not bothering him. It's probably working for his own good, but people are just being deceived. You must wake up from the deception. Okay, so like I said, everything that's going on in Jerusalem right now, it's part of a playbook that the enemy has, which is the word, because he knows the word. But guess what else the enemy knows? The enemy, he knows that the Father exists. He knows the word better than we do. So does he need faith? Well, it's not faith, because he was there. He saw him. So that's not called faith. Faith is believing something when you don't see it, you don't hear it, you don't smell it. Faith. Us, we have faith. He already knows all these things. He knows, he's not afraid to go into the church. Why would he be afraid? He was in heaven. He's not afraid to go in church. His minions aren't afraid to go in church and cause havoc in there. Churches have become more of a show than an actual, teaching of the word. It's more of a show now. I gotta go get entertained. You know what? Let me pay my thigh so then we can keep all these lights going and these smoke machines going. Let me, the Father. That's not what the Father had intended. He says, hey, if there's only 2 or 3, I'm there. Because if there's 2 or 3 and a couple more, everybody's involved, everybody's talking, everybody's listening. But now, if you sit there and go to these mega churches where it's like 30,000, 40,000 individuals, well, guess what? Probably about, if there's 40,000, I would say about 38,000 are just going in there and just taking the word from whoever's giving it, taking the words by their word. No, saying you can't do that. You have to go build your own relationship with the Father. So like I said, everything that's going on in Jerusalem right now, because the 12 tribes are scattered. They're scared. They're starting to wake up. And the Father's going to bring them back. But right now, they're scattered around the world. They're starting to wake up, but they're scattered. You know, you have to read. When you read the word, read it from the beginning, from Genesis all the way through. And then you're gonna understand his promises. You're gonna see why we are where we are. Why did he scatter us? You're gonna understand all these things. And then when you read the prophets, they're gonna tell you what to look forward in our time. And then you read the New Testament, and then you read Revelation, and you compare Revelation with the prophets, and everything fits in like a puzzle. Everything fits in perfectly because guess what? He's the author. Father's the author. The Most High Yahuwah is the author. Okay, so what's going on in Jerusalem right now? Who is in Israel right now? Who is in Israel right now? It's not the 12 tribes. So the word tells you who's in there. So we're gonna go to Revelations chapter 2, verse 9. Okay, I'm gonna read this to you. I read it before, but hey, it doesn't hurt to keep giving it to you guys, so you guys can like all we're trying to do here at the Kingdom Perspective is help you guys help yourselves. Wake up, do your own due diligence, pick up your cross, do what you gotta do to build a relationship with him, so that you can grow. And when the times get hard, he's gonna watch out for us. But if the times get hard and you're not ready, you're gonna run quickly to take the mark of the beast, whatever the enemy's offering, you're gonna run towards it if you're not ready. Okay, so these are who are the people who are in Israel right now. They're the Khazarian Jews. They're called the Rev 2:9s, Revelation 2:9s. These are the people that are in Israel right now. The Khazarian Jews, the Anastasi, they all became Jews. Like they adopted Judaism like 500 years ago. So now we're 500 years in late. So to us, those are the Jews, because nobody told us, unless you study Source Proofs, that the Jews that the father's talking about were scattered around the world. No, nobody's telling you about that unless you study Source Approved. And if your pastor's teaching you what you need to know. But most places aren't teaching these things. Like I said, if you need to know more about these things, go back and watch, I would say the past year of podcasts, and you're gonna, like I said, even before that I was sleeping. But for the past, I would say about a year, maybe even a year and a half, you can honestly tell when the change happened of me sleeping and awakening up because of my introductions. So the first year I'd introduce the Kingdom Perspective a certain way, but after I woke up, I've introduced it a different way. So if you guys want to, all you guys do is just once you see the change in the introduction, you're gonna be like, okay, this is what the Father has been teaching me, and has been wanting me to teach you guys, so you guys can help yourselves. It's an assignment. I'm here to do that. Hey, you guys don't have to take anything I say. If you don't like what I'm saying, hey, ignore me. Change the channel. A lot of people aren't gonna like what I'm about to say. A lot of people are not gonna like what I'm about to say in a minute. But I'm gonna give you guys some visuals so you can see that what I'm saying, it's written. It's not me saying it. I'm just saying what somebody else wrote, in the word, and there's you'll see in a minute. Okay, so let's read Revelations 2:9. Okay, I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, and the slanders of those who say that they are Jews. See, the ones that are there, they're the ones that say that they are Jews. They adopted Judaism. They weren't the 12 tribes. They adopted it. They say that they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. See, the word tells you. If you read it and study, it'll tell you what's going on. You just have to put everything into perspective. Put everything, get that puzzle, cut that puzzle piece going, And the word's going to give you everything that you need to know. Okay? So that's what's going on over there in Jerusalem now. It's all a playbook. You know, um, for example, it says in the word, it says it's in the word it says that in the last day in the last days that the Yahuwah's children will be persecuted. Yeah, it says in the word. And I'm starting to see a lot of persecution going on. Like I spoke about last week, there was this church in China, that got obliterated. A bunch of Christians. Oh, in Nigeria, there's more than 3 million Christians that are being, persecuted. Full churches getting blown up. So last week people were saying, "Oh, the rapture's coming, and the Father he's gonna take us away, so we don't have to deal with all these horrific things that are gonna happen." How can I tell that to those Nigerians, or the people in China, or the people in the Middle East that are going through it right now? They are going through it right now. How can I go to them and tell them, hey, I'm gonna pump up my chest. Hey, Father's not gonna allow me to go through all that. He's gonna take me away. How can we tell people they're going through it? It's just something to think about. Now I taught about what's happening next, what the promises that we should be expecting. If you want to go find that out, like I said, they're my previous podcast. So learn these teachings, hear them, then go study yourselves approved. Go read everything that I talk about. Go read it, reread it 10 times, 12 times, till the Father gives you what you need to know. And he will if you put in the effort. If you're growing your relationship with him, he's not gonna leave you. He sees you. He sees your heart. He sees what you're doing. He doesn't expect you to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm still a work in progress. In fact, I'm probably one of the worst ones that falls, saying short of his grace consistently, And hey, but I know that it has nothing to do with me. He is the truth, the way, and life. I'm nothing but dirt and clay. Like when Adam got put together. Hey, dirt and clay. Hey, dirt and clay, ashes. But being a child of the Most High, that's what makes me something. That's what gives me a person, like it makes me something. I'm nothing, but he makes me, because of him, I become something. I become something. So really, the highest I'm probably ever gonna get is a fool. I'll be a fool. I'm never gonna be able to reach above foolishness, but I'm in between nothing and I'm probably a fool, but I'm not nothing. I'm a fool because I don't know all the information that he knows. So a fool, maybe I'm not a fool to us, but speaking to the Father, hey, we're lacking so much information and then we're sitting there trying to give our perspectives on information that has been hidden from us. I don't come here and I say, hey, I don't give myself titles. No, I'm a simple servant. Come here. He asks me to do something. I do it for him, and that's all I do. Okay, so now we're gonna get into a little bit that's gonna be kind of tough to swallow. Okay, because most people fall into this category. Okay, so our Father, Yahuwah, in Revelation. So we're gonna go to Revelation 2 again. Okay, and he said this only said it once about a set of people. Okay, a set of people. So okay, hold on. Okay, Revelations 2. And we're going to go to Revelations 2, no, chapter 2, verse 6. Okay. And the Father doesn't say this very often. He doesn't really, there's no really, he doesn't really hate. But for some reason, he just dislikes these people that you're about to hear of, okay? So here we go. Revelation 2:6. Yet this you have. You hate the works of the Nicolaitans. Ooh. Who are the Nicolaitans? What are the Nicolaitans? Ooh. You don't want to fall into that sector of people. We're going to go into that a little more. Okay. Which I also hate. And that's the Father speaking. It's in red. That we hate the Nicolaitans and that he hates the Nicolaitans. Okay? Okay. So that's Revelation 2:6. So there. Who are the Nicolaitans? Have you guys ever studied that at your church? Have you guys ever even talked about that? People read over it and they just figure, oh, it's a set of Christianity, just like Pentecostals are, or And then if you actually Google that, they keep it in very, very general terms. Very general terms. Okay. Really quickly, when I was talking about the synagogue of Satan, that's the people that are in Israel right now. I have a video that I want you guys to see to help you guys to explain to you guys how they are the synagogue of Satan. And since I'm bringing it up right now, let's go into that video and let's see who is in the synagogue of Satan and how that came to be. Go.
Hopefully this video you're about to see will help put pieces together about the current political state of Israel and its origins. I did a presentation the other night on my Instagram and I put it up in my link tree in my bio on my Rumble channel called Who Are They? And I hope you'll take the time to understand it, especially with all the propaganda that you're seeing right now from mainstream media, from politicians, that it's our duty as Christians and as Americans to go do what Bibi Netanyahu says, to get into another fake manufactured war in the Middle East for the current political state of Israel that was established in 1948, which is not the same thing as the spiritual house of Israel the scriptures talk about.
Important to note that the Rothschilds claim to be Jewish, but are in fact Khazars from Mongolian Eastern Europe. Like Eisenhower, the Rothschilds have Asiatic Mongolian genes and not genes of Judaic people, and are now known as Ashkenazi Jews. But Georgia and Ukraine are 800 to 1,000 miles north of Palestine. Fact: every prime minister of Israel has been a Khazar Ashkenazi Jew, with no connection to Semite people at all. An ultimatum was delivered by Russia and other surrounding nations impacted by the Khazar murders and robberies that they must reject paganism and choose between Judaism, Christianity, or Islam as their official state religion. The Khazarian king chose Judaism, but despite his promise, the oligarchs kept practicing ancient pagan Babylonian black magic, or secret Satanism. The king melded these practices with Judaism and created a secret satanic hybrid religion, derived from Babylonian Talmudism, written by hired rabbis. The deep dark secret of the occult ceremonies was that they were all based on ancient Baal worship, also known as worship of the owl. It involves child sacrifice, with bleed-outs, blood drinking, and eating of children's parts. So these evil practices continue, and all these are part of the Khazarian mafia today. In 900 AD to 1200 AD, Russian conquests were made into the Khazar kingdom, and eventually drove most of them out. The Russian prince, Svyatoslav, made war upon the Khazars. The Russians created the gradual fall of the Khazars, so in a matter of a decade, the Russians removed most Khazar presence. Unfortunately, the Khazarian leaders had a well-developed spy network and were able to escape across Europe, taking their vast fortune in gold and silver. They infiltrated Europe and Slavic nations, and perhaps back into Asia, infecting many nations and city-states, including as far as Venice, Spain, and most of Central Europe. In secret, they continued their satanic child blood and sacrifice rituals, all for their trusted Baal to give them the whole world and all its riches.
Okay, so back to the Nicolaitans. Back to the Nicolaitans. Okay, who are they? If you Google Nicolaitans, they keep everything very general. That's what the enemy does. He generalizes everything because when the Father speaks and he spoke to his people, he told them straight up, this is what I don't like. So the enemy comes and, you know what? Let me soften it up. Let me generalize everything. So people come up with their own conclusions instead of coming up with the conclusion that the Father gave us directly. No, the enemy comes. You can Google it. You're gonna see. I'm gonna read to you guys in a minute, and I'm gonna show you guys a video. Say in a minute about who the Nicolaitans are. But you see, the Father, he's direct. He's not gonna leave it up for us to figure something out. No, he's gonna tell us what it is. Okay. So now he said that about the Nicolaitans. He dislikes the Nicolaitans, and then he talks about them again in Revelations 2:15. Let's go ahead and read that one real fast. Okay. Okay. So also you have some who hold the teaching of the Nicolaitans. Therefore repent. If not, I will come soon and war against them with the sword of my mouth. See, he dislikes the Nicolaitans. He's going to come war with them. Who are the Nicolaitans? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna read what they are real quick, but then afterwards I'm gonna go ahead and I take a picture of the definition of the Nicolaitans and a video where I got the definition from. Okay, so like I said, if you Google it, it's very general. It says he's a sector of Christianity that it gives a lot of general terms. But right, if you want to look it up yourself, Google it. The Nicolaitans, Google it, and then compare it to what I'm about to read right now, and see the differences of what the enemy, how he deceives, and how he helps you deceive yourself. And you're gonna see the difference between that and the real definition of the Nicolaitans, which I'm about to read right now. Okay. After I read this, then I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the video, and I will put I took a screenshot of, just in case you missed the part of the video where it's about a lady. She's reading it. She has a Bible that's from the 1800s. Okay, so it's been from there. They still wrote out the definition of what the Nicolaitans was, but now you try to look it up, you're not gonna find that. You're not gonna find that. You're gonna have to go again. If don't take anything I say, go back and study yourselves approved. Once you see the video, go back and find that Bible, and because the picture I have, it's the glossary of that Bible. Go back and study yourself. Go see for yourself that this is what it says. And like I said, the Father doesn't come to confuse; he comes to direct, and he tells us directly. So the Nicolaitans, all right, do not fall under this sector of people. But a lot of people aren't going to like what I'm about to read. Why? Because most people fall in this category. Okay? So, Nicolaitans. Certain heretical Christians referred to in Revelation 2, 6, and 15 is what I read to you guys. Okay? Okay. It says here, okay, 6 and 15. Okay. Okay, so the Nicolaitans taught this, who taught that the knowledge of God in Christ was sufficient for salvation, and that being justified by faith, they were free from the restraints of the law and might indulge in sin with impunity. Impunity means, hey, you're going to be able to get away with it. That's who the Nicolaitans are. What does that sound like? You guys come up with your own conclusion. And like I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put the video on real quick. Right now, video, play.
There's a large percentage of Christians that have apostate beliefs and don't even know it. We need to talk about it because I need to show you this because I cannot have blood on my hands. So if you disagree with me, that's fine, but I did my part. So twice in Revelation, Jesus mentions that he hates the Nicolaitans. Yet this you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. So he's giving credit to this group for hating the other group's works. Here he says to a different group, you have some who hold the teaching of the Nicolaitans, therefore repent. If not, I will come to you soon and war against them with the sword of my mouth. If you try to look up who were the Nicolaitans, it's pretty tough to find anything on it. And there's like videos on YouTube where pastors are guessing and they're getting it wildly wrong. I have an 1862 Bible, and I was looking over the glossary the other day, and the majority of modern Christians fall into this belief system. Okay, so it is my gigantic Cassell Publishing House Bible. It's from 1863, just to show you that it is just a standard Bible. And I know people are going to want to know, I got this from eBay a while ago. Okay, so Nicolaitans, certain heretical Christians referred to in Revelation 2, who taught that the knowledge of God and Christ was sufficient for salvation, and that being justified by faith, they were free from the restraints of the law and might indulge in sin with impunity. And if anyone doesn't know what impunity means, that means being exempt from judgment in some way.
Okay. So now that you guys saw just a small section of the video where she kind of explains where she got the definition from, and she shows it on the that Bible that came out in 1800s. But now I'm also gonna show you. I'm gonna put on a picture of the definition of Nicolaitans, so you can read for yourselves. You can always, while you're watching the video, pause it and take a Snapchat, or take a quick picture of it, and then go back to it and study yourselves. Okay, so yeah, that is who the Nicolaitans are, my brothers and my sisters. And that's who we're trying to avoid to be. It's not about just going to, yes, it's wonderful going and accepting Yahushua as your Lord and Savior, and believe and have faith that he died on the cross. Yes, that's all great and beautiful things. But we're saved by grace. He's going to give us grace. He's going to give us grace. But remember, we also have to show him and try to build a relationship with him and let him know that, hey, you are my Father, you are my Master, you are my Lord, you are the King of Kings, you are Yahuwah the Most High. You have to let him know that that's who he is to you. You build a relationship with him, and then things little by little will start becoming more and more clear to your eye. Okay, so yes, that'll be it for today's episode. I come here and I say things not to knock nobody down. I want you guys to go back and study yourselves approved. Go back and study for your own self. Don't take anything I say by my word, or anybody else. Always go back and read for yourself and do your own homework. Show the Father that you love him enough and you want a relationship with him. And you know what? And there, when you do that, he's not gonna be able to tell you, hey, go away. I never knew you. The Father doesn't lie. He does not lie. He keeps it real. He tells you what's up. So with that being said, my people, mi gente, que lo que hay, ya tú sabes. My people, what's good? Hey, God bless each and every single one of you guys. Love you guys. Hey, I'm only here to help you guys, okay? Help yourselves, all right? So with that being said, from the Okena perspective, stay safe, stay smooth. Peace. I'm out.